Hey, hey, good morning, good morning. It is a January morning. I'm making this tape, hoping it gets out to all of you before your support group. I think it's about the 6th of January, and if you received your fellowship tape by now, you've noticed that my theme is peace and that I've made a few changes in retrospect to this coming year. And so I thought that I would give a couple more pieces of information in that way. But first, I thought I would like to convey to you what the new year is like up here on top of Mount Shasta. I've gotten up higher than the truck would normally go, and then some. This is probably the first really good snow that we've had. It's magnificent. Everything is sparkling and glowing. I see the tops of Mount Eddy and everything else sort of just kind of like laying in a fog, little bank of moisture. It's almost like flying in a plane, and you look down and you see clouds except for the highest peaks. And you're sitting on one of these highest peaks, and the sun is shining, and the colors coming off this first snow are incredible. The calm has been calm for a long time because I've been here for a while enjoying it, and now the wind's starting to pick up now that I'm talking with you, and it's probably another part of the universe that wants to share. I'm excited to, I guess, make this tape, even though, as usual, I don't have a clue as to what to say. But it's a new year. It's an amazing year. I feel that as a personality and as an essence, I've grown tremendously. I feel and perceive that it's never outside of myself, and I look at what is around me and what is surrounding me continuously, and I notice that there's like thousands of us that are constantly emanating that energy, and hundreds of us that are qualifying it even into a divine state. Because it is never outside of ourselves, I look out at this and I see what you all see. I find that we've grown inside. I find that we are accelerating. We are changing. I find that the world, the planet, she is also changing, and she is changing at a rapid rate. For 46 years, I've kind of hung out, and I've looked around, and I've waited to see what there was to do, and I think all of us have had feelings that we know we would know what to do when that time came. That time for me is now. Or at least Dennis, the personality, is beginning to perceive and feel and know, because we have all forms of bodies, different things which will direct me as a personality in certain ways. So far, I have trusted myself because everything around me, and also, if I may add, around you, has been loving. It's been learning, but it's been loving, and we have grown. I, as a personality, wish to share whatever it was that I feel that God would eventually let me know if I prayed hard enough and long enough and strong enough. And that is very, very simply put, and that is how I tangibly did it. I would program for years that I wanted linear communication with the being that I chose to call my creative source. And in every moment of the day, went at that very essence to fulfill that that need within whatever part sought to know the answer of that. I feel we're all doing this same thing. As I sit on top of Mount Shasta from time to time, and I've also noticed that, it's now been going into 8 years of being here, if I'm not on the road, and being up here on the top. I really feel that has added in some way to my growth to sit on an antenna that perches itself 10,000 to 14,000 feet up in the sky, depending on where I'm sitting at the time. And I know that after 8 years worth of repetition of I love you gods, and opening up my heart so that I may touch a creative source, I have begun to know how to pull in that energy that comes from wherever, so that it's a complete circle of understanding. I've learned how to sit up here and broadcast insights and broadcast love to beings who have asked for it. I sit up here at times and just broadcast out healing. And because whatever we give our truth to is our reality, for years I sit up here and feel that this mountain, as a volcanic source, has the ability to emanate qualities. And that if I put physical linear thoughts and qualities into the air and into the atmosphere from here, they magnify, and that serves this planet. I guess, and as a personality, I've picked up on those insights based on the universe guiding me here, and have used all of these things. So I have given, I have received, I have given, I have received. All of this I have shared. I've been doing it for 8 years, 3 years during, at the time I was putting the clinic together and allowing the universe to do the magnificent healings, and 5 years of teaching on the road. Basically, since I've been to Mount Shasta, this 8 years, which has been since I've come out of the woods, I've developed myself in giving back everything that I was in the center of sharing. See, I've observed that I've given out and I've received, and somewhere within all of this, Dennis, the tangible personality, has been able to translate and understand and put into physical terms a teaching or pieces of understanding or insights that I, as a personality, have used over all of the years to get to the knowing space. A space of touching that which we perceive that to be divine, and we give it terms. And I, as a teacher, have also begun in years to know that there was an understanding on how to develop the divine aspect. This is what I'm getting ready to teach to all of those who will be in the fellowship when I stop doing the teaching that is open to the public right now. As I look at what is happening on the world, and this will be a complete tape here, as I look what is happening on the world, this being January 6th, and me looking at the TV, people are really geared up for war. If you've gotten my fellowship tape, you've heard me say that it is time to do the divine work, to make a change on this planet. In that fellowship tape, I called up our divine side to have peace. As I did that, I told you that I feel in my heart peace can happen on the 15th if we put our divinity to work. As committed on the tape, I began putting the divinity to work. All of a sudden, in parts of myself, I feel myself wanting to say, well, what if, and I keep pushing those out of my mind. Because you know what? I don't know what peace is, but I want it. Over these last several days, the universe has really been instructing me in unique things. The end of December and the beginning of January in the past have been some of my strongest times. I basically, between the 27th and 29th of December, and perceiving that a few days before and after are also really good days, had such things happen to me as, the fellowship got started then. I had a self-realization during that time. I did a workshop in Fairfield, Iowa, where the Maharishi's place is, between the 27th and 29th, when the Christ consciousness actually manifested on the planet. These times have been phenomenal times for me in my life, and in terms of teaching, I've learned a lot of things in my life by paying attention. As I asked the universe to tell me what peace was, because I was praying that this man would give back the land, and then all of a sudden I saw that my personality was starting to get into it, and my ego was getting into it, and I thought, wow, we could actually have peace, and we can just... And then I started to realize that the simplest way to attain the peace was to wait till he was praying. See, everybody's trying to influence him when he's wide awake. And so my concept was, well, I'll just wait till the man's praying. I'll wait till he's talking to God. I'll go into prayer and I'll talk to God. And we'll, from a divine space, work this out. Except Dennis had pictures as to what peace was. And the gentleman had pictures as to what peace was. And we both noticed we had pictures rather than letting God decide things. And so I began to realize I do want peace for this planet, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is where my work will be. And I've been given insights per se as how to do that. And I've been given insights per se as how we are all going to do this. I know I've said other things in the past. I've said, well, I think I'm going to go to Mexico, and I'm going to do some things down there. And there was a lot of ego, and I never quite got there, and I understand that I've had those essences before, maybe not the true feeling. Trying to play with this, the self, trying to understand when it is the right time and when it isn't the right time. And doing different things, wanting to start a book, still actually dragging my feet on it, but still it's typed in different manuscript in different places, but still running ideas through on that. I've also known I've done pretty good in the other column as to having some really good insights, and in mentioning that, when Gorbachev first came in the office, that he was truly a master and he would change the planet. And I know that some think that I'm a little going like, wow, Dennis, you're praying for peace? Like, when it looks like it's 1,000% inevitable that we have to go to war. I look at all these things and I say to myself, what is it that we're really doing down here, God? What is the peace that I am supposed to understand? What is it that we are all really here to know? I mean, what does it really come down to? And over these last few days, in its magnificent way, clear as a bell, and also in all of the bodies, so that nothing could get left out, of course, and that includes physical. The universe has explained peace to me in such a way that it was absolutely beautiful. I began to realize that Dennis had pictures as to what peace was on a linear scale, and so Dennis wanted to go out carrying the big banner and waving that because he had a feeling on what to do, and the self immediately jumped into it until the true essence of knowing came, and then it was something that Dennis and the self would have never came up with. You see, this understanding of peace isn't about how people act externally. It's how we perceive ourselves internally. Peace comes from within. And it comes from a joy and a calmness of knowing that regardless of what is happening in the world, in the universe, and in the galaxy, in you, there is a calm that supersedes the calamity and the bouncing around of all the rest. That calm and that peace, which is inside of you, comes from a knowing when the self truly has touched the God attributes. And it does that by working on itself with all the different techniques until you, each and every one of you, really knows inside a flash or a split second of calmness and peace that nothing on the planet can actually disturb. That peace of knowingness is the fulfillment which all souls inside wish to attain. Within this attainment, the problems of the world will begin to melt when you begin to have such a peace inside that through your physical eyes you can see the perfection of all things as they must be. And as a being of this limitless love, you work selflessly to achieve that state in every fiber of your being first, and that in turn, every fiber that is around you in the world which you create. We are working to touch the divinity that is deep within inside of us. That knowingness that all is well and all is perfect. And even when the most terrible, terrible thing that your linear brain could come up with that is happening to us or the planet or the universe, the calm of your divinity presides in such peace and such depth that you as a human essence see the perfection of what this thing appears to be in front of you. And as you open your heart and stretch out in that peace, that chaos calms itself in front of your very presence, because your knowingness of divinity brings that whenever it chooses. To stretch into the divinity is to bring a calm and a peace and a joy unknown truly on the physical plane, because it can only be attained through knowingness, trust, senses and feeling that go much deeper than the thoughts and concepts of the mind. Now as I look at peace for the planet and see the universe coming to some sort of understanding on the 15th, I don't know what that peace will look like. And so to have a picture is almost as if to guide something. And I feel that I'd rather let God do the guiding. So when I talk to you now and we're all tuning into our divinities to bring peace to the universe now, so that it is felt through the fibers of ourself, because we are her and she is us. What we must do is feel our divinity inside of us and feel that peace and let that peace go out onto the planet in a gentle, loving way with yet no direction. See, I thought the highest thought was to go there when he was in there talking with God. You could get out just like he did, look good, you know, be like a big man, you know. And I thought I'd sneak that in while he was into the God space. Except that when I was into the God space myself, it was like the peace starts within each man and woman. And it is there in each one of our hearts. And we must singularize that peace within inside of ourselves. And as we find that joy, then sing that joy out in whatever form you must, so that the planet can feel it. And stay within the God-directed form. Peace will prevail if you prevail in your divinity, and this is what we must express now. And if it looks like it happens, and it looks like all of a sudden we're not at war on the 15th, then that's the way God perceived it should be. Just know that you've put your love and your prayer out. And in this way, you have definitely served this planet. Now, let's shift over to the other side, and we'll talk about the linear ways in which to bring the divinity from the divine self, which is very clear, down onto the physical plane, so that the physical unit, in the completeness and in the wholeness of all of the act, because it is the physical unit that's going to be up on the physical front line. We therefore need a physical linear attribute to bring this divinity of peace within ourselves and visualize it onto the planet per se without interfering with God's directive. And so we'll do that on the other side. So see you there. Thank you very much.